If you think Rome was invincible, you need to watch this, because the truth is far more terrifying. I don't think people understand how close Rome came to collapse. This is gonna blow your mind. What if I told you the fate of an empire hung by a thread, and everything you thought you knew about Rome's fall is just the beginning? The wind howls over the northern plains, carrying the scent of pine and smoke and blood. Soon the world will watch as chaos erupts and legends are forged in fire. The old empire trembles as shadows gather at the frontiers, where legions once stood proud and eternal. But nothing will ever be the same. The ground now cracks with the march of those once called savages, now storming the gates of civilization with fire in their eyes. Stay with us, because the true story of Rome's darkest hour is about to unfold. From the endless forests beyond the Rhine they come, emerging from the shadowy depths where the trees stand like ancient sentinels, their branches tangled in perpetual mist. These forests, vast and untamed, have been both home and fortress to the Visigoths for generations. Here beneath the thick canopy, they learned to survive, hunting, foraging, and fighting for every scrap of life. The air is cold, heavy with the scent of pine and earth, and the silence is broken only by the distant calls of ravens and the crunch of boots on frozen ground. Out of this wilderness steppe, warriors with scarred faces and eyes like flint, their gazes hardened by years of struggle. Each scar tells a story of battles fought, of loved ones lost, of winters survived when food was scarce and hope even scarcer. Their clothing is rough, stitched from animal hides and worn with the marks of countless journeys. Behind them, families trudge through the snow, children clinging to their mothers, elders leaning on staffs, all bearing the weight of exile and uncertainty. They are the Visigoths, a proud people now driven from their ancestral lands by a terror greater than any they have known, the Huns. These fierce horsemen sweep across the plains like a storm, their arrows blotting out the sun, their war cries echoing through the valleys. Villages are left in ashes, fields trampled, and the only sound that remains is the mournful wind. The Visigoths flee not just for themselves, but for their children and their future, desperate to escape the relentless advance of the Huns, who show no mercy and leave only silence in their wake. With nowhere else to turn, the Visigoths gather what little they possess and set their sights on the Roman frontier. They approach the mighty gates of the empire, weary and wary, their hearts filled with both hope and fear. They seek shelter from the chaos, a patch of land to call their own, and a chance to rebuild their shattered lives within the boundaries of Rome. Their plea is simple yet profound: to be allowed in, to be given a place among the Romans, and to find peace after years of wandering and war. But the empire does not welcome them, it fears them, it underestimates them. And when betrayal bleeds into the soil, the Visigoths rise up, steel in hand. Led by Alaric, they strike not with recklessness, but with vengeance. They sack Rome, the eternal city, a name once untouchable, now broken beneath barbarian boots. The world gasps as its heart cracks open. But they are not alone, for the gates are now open wide and more will follow. The Vandals, fierce and swift, march through Gaul and Hispania. They leave the ashes of cities behind them, crossing into Africa where they seize Carthage, a real jewel of the empire. And from there, they control the Mediterranean with black sails and fire. They even reach Rome from the sea and plunder it again while emperors beg shadows for help. To the north, the Franks emerge, not only as raiders but as settlers, carving kingdoms from the ruins of Roman Gaul. They do not just burn, they build. Their blades forge borders, and their kings dream of crowns. Their line will endure far beyond the age of chaos. In Britannia, the old legions have vanished, leaving the land to tribes and ghosts. The once mighty Roman Empire, which had stretched its influence across these green and misty isles, has withdrawn its soldiers, its governors, and its order. The stone roads and crumbling forts now stand silent, haunted by memories of discipline and power. The people left behind, farmers, craftsmen, and warriors, find themselves in a world suddenly untethered, where the rules have changed and the future is uncertain. The echoes of Roman civilization linger in the ruins, but the land is restless, waiting for a new destiny to unfold. Into this vacuum step new peoples, the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes. These are not just invaders, but entire communities, families, chieftains, and warriors seeking new homes and new opportunities. Driven by the promise of fertile land and the stories of a weakened Britannia, they cross the sea in search of a better life. Their arrival is not sudden, but a steady tide, wave after wave, reshaping the land and its people. The Jutes, the Angles, and the Saxons sail across cold, treacherous waters on rough wooden ships, braving storms and unknown dangers. They bring with them not only their weapons and armor, but their language, their gods, and their ancient customs. Each landing on the rocky shores marks the beginning of a new chapter, as these settlers carve out places for themselves in a land both foreign and familiar. Their songs and stories echo across the hills, mingling with the wind and the rain. The newcomers push the native Britons into the hills and deep forests, claiming the fertile lowlands for themselves. Battles are fought in shadowy woods and on open fields, as old ways clash with new ambitions. Yet, amid the conflict, new communities rise. Wooden halls, small villages, and the seeds of future towns. These foundations, laid in struggle and hope, will one day grow into a kingdom that the world will know as England. The fate of Britannia is being rewritten, one settlement at a time. Gap-2.7s. Across the fractured remnants of the Western Empire, a storm of uncertainty brews. Picture this: AI-generated visions of thunderclouds swirling over forgotten Roman roads, eerie silhouettes of abandoned villas swallowed by wild forests, and ghostly outlines of broken statues crumbling in the mist. In these lands, rumors travel faster than armies. Whispers of new conquerors and lost treasures drift through the empty halls of ruined cities. Every shadow conceals a secret, every flickering torch hints at danger or opportunity. Now imagine a procession of mysterious figures, cloaked strangers crossing shattered bridges, warbands moving by torchlight through snow-dusted forests, and secret councils gathered in candlelit ruins. Their faces are hidden, their intentions unclear. Are they saviors or destroyers? I bet you didn't know how close the world came to total collapse in these very moments. As the world teeters between chaos and rebirth, the boundaries of old alliances blur. The fate of kingdoms hangs by a thread, and the next decision could tip the balance toward glory or oblivion. Stay with us as the story darkens. The most dramatic turns are yet to come. A king's gamble, a warlord's ambition, and the rise of powers no one could have predicted. In the gathering gloom, destinies collide, and history is about to be rewritten. The Ostrogoths come as well, scarred by Hunnic chains, but free now under a leader who sees both sword and scroll. Theodoric, who brings order to Italy, not in the name of Rome, but in the image of what Rome once was. In the heart of the vast Eurasian steppe, where the wind howls and the grass bends beneath the hooves of 1,000 horses, a shadow grows longer with each passing day. This is no ordinary storm. It is a force that chills the blood of even the bravest warriors and sends shivers through the mighty empires of the West. The Huns, a people forged by hardship and hardened by endless migration, sweep across the land like a living tempest. At their head rides a figure whose very name is enough to silence a crowded room: Attila. To the Romans, to the Goths, to every trembling village in their path, Attila is not just a man, but a legend of terror, a specter whispered about in the dead of night. His reputation precedes him, carried on the wind, and wherever it goes, fear takes root. The Huns are not conquerors in the traditional sense. They do not seek to build cities or plant crops. They do not hunger for land to call their own. What they crave is far more immediate: gold, terror, and the submission of all who stand before them. Their demands are simple and brutal: pay tribute or face destruction. Villages and towns, once bustling with life, now cower in anticipation of the thunder of hooves. The mere rumor of the Huns' approach is enough to send entire communities fleeing into the forests, abandoning their homes and treasures in desperate hope of survival. When the Huns strike, they do so with the speed and ferocity of a lightning bolt. Their tactics are unlike anything the settled peoples of Europe have ever faced: swift raids, sudden ambushes, and relentless pursuit. Cities that once stood proud behind their walls find themselves utterly unprepared for the onslaught. Gates splinter, defenders scatter, and before a cry for help can even rise, the city is overrun. Even the mighty Roman emperor, ruler of a vast and ancient empire, finds himself powerless in the face of Attila's wrath. In the flickering candlelight of his throne room, he bows his head, forced to negotiate with the very man who has become the nightmare of his people. The devastation left in the wake of the Huns is almost unimaginable. Villages are reduced to smoldering ruins, fields are trampled and barren, and the silence that follows is heavy with loss. Survivors speak in hushed tones of the beast that tore through their world, leaving only ashes and memories behind. And just as suddenly as they appeared, the Huns vanish into the mist, their presence lingering only in the nightmares of those who remain. Attila's terror is not just a chapter in history, it is a scar across the face of Europe, a reminder of the day when the world trembled beneath the hooves of the Huns. Rome in the West is gone, not with a final battle but with a whimper. A boy emperor dethroned by a barbarian general, and no one stops it. No one can, for the empire has already died in spirit. Yet this is not the end, it is a beginning, for from the chaos comes transformation. The barbarians do not remain barbarians, they become rulers, lawgivers, kings. They adopt the religion they once scorned. They speak the language they once mocked, and they reshape Europe not in the image of Rome, but in their own vision. New kingdoms rise from the bones of old ones, and though the eagle standard falls, the fire of civilization does not go out. It changes, it flickers, it moves, it becomes something new. This is the age of the barbarians. The age of endings and beginnings, of blood and banners and burning cities, but also of birth and, the long road ahead to a new world. And though the empire fell, its legacy lived on, not in marble, but in memory. Not in palaces, but in the minds of kings who once carried